Is Calgary a good place for real estate investors? What are the different methods of creating wealth through real estate? And where in Calgary should you be buying your properties? Let's get right into it in this video. So answering the first question of, is Calgary a good place for real estate investors? The short answer to this is yes. And I go into way more detail about that in one of my previous videos, why people are moving to Calgary. But on a super high level, the reasons why people are investing in Calgary and the reason why it's a good investment is because of two things. One, Calgary is one of the last affordable major cities in Canada. And two, because we have lots of economic growth and development. So what are the different ways of creating wealth through real estate? There's four primary ways. The first one is cash flow, which is having tenants cover all of your expenses and then actually having extra money go into your pocket. Second one is appreciation, which is when you buy a property and it appreciates in value so you can sell it for more later on. Third, you have principal pay down, which is every time you make a mortgage payment, you're actually increasing your net worth. I think of it as like a forced savings account. The only difference is that it can appreciate in value because your asset can appreciate in value. Fourth way is by adding value to the property. So this is like flips and building and developing properties. If you want help deciding which investment approach is best for you based on your situation and circumstances, drop a comment down below or reach out to me using my contact information, which is in the YouTube description. So where should you buy your real estate property in Calgary? It really depends on what kind of investment you're going for. If you're going for cash flow, there's two things that you need to do. You need to get a property that will have less expenses, and you need a property that can rent for more rent. Ignore that word, and we're gonna keep that though. If you're looking for those two things, there's two places where you'll likely be. The first place is newer communities on the suburbs. And the reason for this is because they're so far away, they're so cheap. They're far from downtown. They're like a 30-minute drive away. But it's attractive to tenants. You got brand new build and people want to live in nice luxury feeling places. So that's the first place you'll be. Second place you'll be is the hood. It's not glamorous, but properties that are in not ideal locations, they sell for way less. Your money gets you further. Now, what I've learned is that people will rent anything. You just have to make sure you rent your property at the market value. If there's two apartments, one's going for $1,000 a month, the other's going for $800. You want to be closer to the 800 one because then more tenants are going to look at your place. The hood usually has the best cash flow, not going to lie. Let's go. Okay, if you're looking for appreciation, you're likely going to be looking at an inner city home. And the reason for this is because what drives appreciation is land value. So being close to amenities, being central where you can get places fast, be where people are. That's what drives home values. So city centers where you're going to be, as well as places where there's lots of development happening. One community that I'm super bullish on is Seaton and surrounding areas because one, it has a new South Health campus. Two, they're going to be building the Green Line LRT close to there, so there's going to be transit. And three, it has the world's largest YMCA. That's right, the world's largest YMCA. All of that, I really think it has a lot going for it. Now, for people that want to add value to their property, it's a little more complicated. There's not one area. It depends on what renovations you want to do. It can be anything from doing a new kitchen to knocking down a house and building a new luxury infill. So just because there's such a big spectrum, it's hard to choose a specific location. Here are some of the questions you should be asking to make sure that you actually make a good investment. So the first question you should be asking is, what is your budget for this project? How much do you want to spend on the house? How much can you afford to spend on materials and labor? Also, you should be thinking about what price point do you need to sell your house at in order for the investment to make sense for your time and your money. The second question you should be asking is, who do you want to sell this home to? Are you trying to sell it to a luxury buyer? Are you trying to sell it to an investor? Are you just trying to sell it to a young family moving into an older community? You need to think about this because that will determine what materials you will use, which renovations you will do, how much you're going to be spending on the project, and where you buy. It determines pretty much everything. So let's assume you're not tearing down a house and building an infill. Are you handy? That's the first question. Are you handy? Can you do any of the renovations yourself? Second, are you able to pay off the carrying costs while you do the renovation? So that's the mortgage payments, the utilities, insurance, all of that. Are you able to pay for that while you're doing the renovation? How much time will it take? And after everything considered, do the numbers still make sense? Will it be a worthwhile investment for you? Now, my advice for investors. So if you're getting your first investment property, I'd recommend going for a property that gets cash flow or principal pay down. I think that that's a great way to start building your wealth and to really learn about real estate investing. If you're going for principal pay down, you'll likely see more appreciation than if you're just going for cash flow. Because typically, principal pay down can hit several items at once, whereas appreciation is going to be harder because you have to spend more to be in a good area. Your expenses are going to be up and it's going to mess up the cash flow. So before you get into bigger projects like flips and developing and building properties, I would start by doing small renovations in your rental properties. So replacing the carpet, painting painting some walls, stuff like that, so you have a basic understanding of some of the renovations that you would need to do, and really just understanding how much time it takes and if you're handy, and getting an idea of the cost. So that's also why I think getting rental properties is great for beginners. If you are getting a rental property though, it's important to know which renovations to do for your property. There's some that won't make sense. The thing you have to keep in mind is it's going to be tenants, it's not the owner. They don't need the highest end finishes. You don't need to spend lots of money for the highest quality item. Tenants are not going to care about your property as much as you. They're going to wreck it, they're going to damage it. It's not that they're bad people or anything, it's just that they don't care, it's not theirs. That's also a very important lesson and a mistake I see a lot of first-time investors do. They go all out with the finishes and they do not get the return on investment. If you are looking to get into these bigger projects where you're doing renovations and you're building houses, then you need to make sure you have a game plan and a team that knows what they're doing. You need to know how much your budget is. You need to know who you're selling to. You need to know how long the project is going to take. You need to know what the prices are for materials. You need to have everything figured out, because if anything goes wrong, it can cost you a lot of money. When you're trying to figure this out, I'd make sure that you are very conservative with your numbers. And it's also important to know what rules there are with zoning, especially if you're building an infill. There's certain rules and regulations that you have to follow given the bylaws. There are a lot of moving pieces when it comes to getting an investment property. If you'd like to sit down with me and talk about your situation, your investment objectives, I can help you go over the costs of buying your investment property. I can go over the process of buying your investment property, and I'll be sure to ask you questions that will help you have more clarification for what you need to focus on, what you don't need to focus on, so you have more success and you get more money from this investment property. Thank you so much for watching the video, you guys. If you got value, please hit the subscribe button and the like button. And if you want to see more Calgary and Calgary real estate related videos in the future, be sure to hit the notification bell. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.